Okay, well, just like magic, look who has joined us in the studio, Matchroom's promoter, Eddie Hearn. Eddie, I've got to ask you, you've been involved in many big shows in your time in this mad old boxing game. You've had good relationships with fighters. You've certainly got a good relationship with Conor Benn, maybe not so much Chris Eubank Jr. Where does this whole occasion sit for you?
Massive. I mean, I can't believe we're 4 days away. Is it actually going to happen? I mean, I don't want to
Don't say that again. You've done that before.
Listen, like, I just, you know, in a minute, those two are going to be walking down there. Camp couldn't have gone any better for Conor Benn. You know, I'm sure Chris Eubank Jr. has worked hard, you know, and they've all got it all to do on Saturday night. I think there's going to be a huge amount of pressure. Both guys have been involved in big nights before, but nothing like this. Probably the experience side will benefit Chris Eubank. I think he's been around for a long time. I think he's been part of a lot of fights. For Conor, it's probably about keeping a lid on emotions this week. They've done such great work in training camp. The last thing you want to do is just come here and ruin it all by getting your nervous energy up and getting pumped up. I think you'll see a fairly low-key Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I think the weigh-in will erupt on Friday, but you know, if I'm in Conor Benn's training team right now, I'm just saying, nice and calm. You've done the hard work. Let's wait till Saturday. Is
that a case of not giving too much energy up in fight week, Darren and Barry, I guess, from what Eddie was just saying there?
Yeah, I guess so. Look, you want to save it. All the talking's done now, really and truly. You know, this fight is huge regardless of what's happened in the past. It's all about Saturday night now. So I'm with Eddie. I don't think there's going to be any fireworks as such, perhaps at the weigh-in. But, Ed, I want to quickly talk about this weight. Everyone talking about the weight of Chris Eubank Jr. Do you honestly do you think there's an issue here? People talking about it a bit too much?
Chris Eubank's weight?
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's more of an issue for Conor Benn.
Yeah, I was going to say, because this...
you know, I mean, actually the only person that's talked about the risks in the fight in terms of the risk to Conor Benn of moving up is Chris Eubank Sr. I mean, he's the one that's saying it's too dangerous for Conor Benn. Everyone's talking about the danger of Chris Eubank making the same weight that he's made his last 5 fights. Yes, there is a rehydration clause. Every time I've been around him, that hasn't been a problem in terms of those numbers. He'll certainly have to watch himself, but it's not like he's going to have to be not hydrating, not eating. My concern is for the safety of my fighter, Conor Benn. He's the one jumping up, fighting the much bigger man. I expect Conor Benn to come in around 157, 158 pounds. I think he'll come into the ring about 165 pounds. And I think Chris Eubank Jr. will come into the ring about 175 pounds. I think he'll be giving away about 10 pounds in the ring. I don't think it will matter. No. The way that he's been performing in training camp, the way that he's been sparring, the size of the opposition he's been sparring against, he's ready for those guys. And let's not forget, his last 2 fights have been at 154, you know, when he's had those interim fights. So, listen, there's no doubt he's at a disadvantage in terms of the size. I honestly don't think it's going to matter. No.
But he's been able to train in a healthier position for himself than ever before. Yeah. So I think we're going to see a stronger Benn, if anything, to be fair.
I mean, it's the getting the mix right between being able to fuel yourself and train at 110% every session, but still be strong at that weight in terms of your opponent. Do you know what I mean? So for Eubank, there's no doubt 160 is a struggle for him. It has been the last 5 fights. But it's the output that you can put into that training camp in the closing weeks, in the weeks that really matter. And I think for Conor Benn, it's been, I mean, you've seen it across social media. It's been literally wake up, fuel, 110%, go to bed, wake up, fuel again, go again, dinner at night, fuel, wake up, feeling $1 million. But it's at the same time, you don't want to be eating yourself into the weight. You don't want to be walking around. You don't want to be slow. You don't want to be lethargic. You don't want to be heavy. You want to be razor sharp. Yeah, and that's why I don't think he's going to be trying to necessarily eat himself up to, you know, he'll be overweight now. Yeah. He won't be, he'll be over 160 pounds now, in my opinion. It'll be very close. But Eubank at this stage is probably, what, 170? 172, bringing himself down to championship weight. So, you know, this week will be much tougher for Chris Eubank, no doubt about that, because this fighter in Conor Benn is a guy that won't have to probably make weight. But at the same time, it's the numbers that you enter the ring at as well that will have a difference. But, you know, some of the best fighters I've worked with have only been 3, 4, 5 pound over championship weight when they go into the ring. And I mean, Carl Froch was probably the best example of that was just so strong. I mean, literally would wake up in the morning, go for a wander, get on the scales, done, small rehydrate, 4 or 5 pound, but go into the ring, you know, without putting your body through that 24 hours or 48 hours of stress to try and get yourself back to ready to go.
Eddie, have you got a little... I mean, I've not seen you so quiet at 2 press conferences that we've seen for these 2 launch ones, obviously in Manchester and then in London.
I'm not allowed to speak.
Well, yeah, have you got a game plan?
No, my game plan is I don't want to upset Chris Eubank Jr. I don't want any unfair advantage for Conor Benn. Clearly, most of Chris Eubank's focus going into this fight has been on me rather than Conor Benn. So I'm going to stay out of it because I don't want to get into his mind and start giving Conor Benn any additional advantage. We don't need any advantage. So I've got a few ideas that I think will help, but you won't hear a lot from me this week. I'll try and stay out of Chris Eubank Jr.'s way because I don't want to get in his head. Let him focus on the fight. He really needs to.
He did say the only regret he had is that he didn't hit you with an egg as well.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people would have loved that. Trust me when I say it was double on sight if that would have happened.
Would you have got involved, would you? Thank God for the security, eh? Blimey, thank God that
didn't
didn't happen.
see me get angry. Woo!
Ed,
Wow.
look, there's 2 narratives I've seen here, or 2 storylines that seem to be making waves. It's Benn early, Eubank late.
Yeah.
You disagree with that, don't you?
Or vice versa.
I've heard you fancy Benn on points. Is that right?
No.
Oh, well.
It's the one method of victory I can't see happen.
Right, okay. I mean, the one thing I'll say is that Conor Benn's conditioning is second to none. So there is a lot of narrative, like you said, around Benn early, but Eubank doesn't really look great over 12 rounds. It's not like, I mean, you know, I think he's got a decent engine. How will he make the weight? How would the hydration affect him? The reason I think people are choosing Conor early is because of the sharpness of the way he starts a fight and the way he punches, but also probably because of the Liam Smith defeat as well to Chris Eubank. I mean, I believe, I was so shocked by the Liam Smith knockout because Chris Eubank Jr. has always had an unbelievable chin. And he ain't got an unbelievable chin anymore. That's fact. You don't get knocked out like he did against Liam Smith without having that wear and tear on the chin because in the early days, his chin was incredible, like his old man's. And I just don't think he can hold a shot like he used to. And I think Conor Benn's shots are going to have more effect early in the fight. Catch him cold. And honestly, Tony Sims, like you said, Tony Sims doesn't make predictions like that. When have you ever heard Tony Sims say, this fight is not going 6 rounds? I mean, Nigel says he's not going 4 rounds, but he's also his dad, right? But I can't see this fight going more than 6 rounds, honestly. Like, you know how Conor Benn fights. He's not going to come out and start, you know, running around the ring and boxing and moving. He's going to come out and set about it.
Do you think on the flip side, Eubank will try and navigate and stay out of trouble those early rounds?
He might choose to come and have a fight with him. You know, he might choose that he likes his chances in a shootout. I mean, you know, Eubank's not a massive puncher at middleweight, but he can punch, you know, and obviously he's a middleweight. So
and he doesn't have the footwork to dance around. He has to take, Eubank has to take the centre of the ring. And I'm not saying he has to push Conor back, but he can put himself on the ropes. It's just impossible.
What?
He has to
You can't see Eubank going for a wonder.
No, but at the
he's
same
going to
time,
have to. I agree with you. He's going to have to hold the centre of the ring.
Conor early is very difficult. You know, the twitches, the movements, the feints. No, till you get into the fight with Conor Benn, you see in those opponents, even when he was having short camps at 154, the first 3, 4, 5 rounds, he was so razor sharp, hitting you from angles, and then after that, once the opponent got in it. So that's why I think people would favour Eubank once he gets into the fight. The idea is you don't let him get into the fight. But it'll be fascinating if Eubank comes out, takes the middle of the ring and sticks it on Conor in the early. I mean, but
I think Eubank will think the same. I can't let Conor Benn get a really fast start, so I got to start pumping that jab on.
And he'll be expected
to push him back.
But the thing is, for all the bravado of Chris Eubank Jr., do you he's not stupid, right? He's actually do you think he really? I'm sure he thinks he's going to win, but do you think he's confident in what he's got and what he's bringing to the table these days? I don't. I think he knows he's not the fighter. Yeah, but the thing is, Barry, back in the day, right, he was quite deluded and arrogant with it, and he was tough enough and robust enough, and probably naive enough about the game that he just thought he could walk through people and he was invincible. Yeah. I don't think now. I don't believe that he's confident in his chin like he once was. I don't believe he's confident in his body, his knees, his shoulders like he once was. I think this is for him. It's like, got to find a way to get through this. Like, this is not a young fighter. This is a guy that's thinking, I've got to win this fight, and, you know, obviously it's a big payday for me. But does he truly believe physically that he's the fighter that he once was? I think he knows.
I think that's a valid point, but he'll also, just to balance it up, he'll also see what Conor's done his last couple of fights. I think Peter Dobson's a better win than what it looks, actually. But you look and think he wasn't he wasn't as explosive as he has been up at 154, which might be just growing into the weight, or who knows. But I mean, he'll see that and think, well, if he's that fighter, I'll be fine. If he's the fighter that he was a couple of fights before, Algeria, for instance, then I got a problem. So they both, I think, they've got to see a different fighter than what they were.
I think one thing's for sure, Conor Benn is going to land on Chris Eubank Jr. early in this fight.
Yeah.
No, he's very accurate early.
100%.
Very accurate, very spiteful early. A lot of it's going to come down to what kind of effect he can have with those shots. I mean, if Eubank takes the shots well, it's going to be a long night for Conor Benn. But as we saw in the Liam Smith fight, I think those early shots, those ones where, he's just twitching, fainting, jab to start, boom, like the Algeria knockout.
Yeah.
That's the one that I can see having the big effect on Chris Eubank Jr.
If he does that, Eddie, and he wins in the way you think he's going to, in front of the world, in front of 65,000 at Tottenham Hotspur, what does that do for his profile and
He
star
becomes
power?
the biggest star in British boxing. I mean, the fact is this fight's like nothing anyone's seen before for British boxing since Froch Groves, outside of AJ and the heavyweight division, right? This is a complete freak fight, and I don't like the narrative of, oh, it's a circus, just because everyone knew their dads. These are two world-class fighters in their respective divisions. This is a great fight. No one can sit here now, categorically, and tell you what is going to happen. But the winner, look, Chris Eubank's Chris Eubank Jr. He's 36, is he? He's at the back end of his career. He's looking for some big fights. Conor's still a young man. He goes out there and knocks out Chris Eubank Jr., coming up 2 weight divisions to do so. This kid's cracked it. He's hit the absolute jackpot. Worldwide as one of the biggest stars in the sport. But we're not really looking at it as that. We're just looking at winning. This fight is so important to Conor Benn. It's so important to his dad. It's so important to the team. It's so important to his legacy. This is a complete one-off, freak occurrence between 2 world-class fighters whose dads happen to have the greatest rivalry in the history of British boxing.
I'm sold. Are you?
I'm in.
You're pretty good at this.
I don't even need to sell it. I mean, you could even have Shalom up here. He'd sell it.
I think
more of that.
What you said there, though, he's not bothered about that. He's just bothered about winning. I think that's the most important thing.
The payday, everything great. But the difference is the mentality between the 2 fighters. And, of course, Eubank's a competitor. He wants to win. But I'll tell you what, he don't want to win like Conor Benn. I'm telling you now. Eubank is at the back end. The money's there. The villa's there in Dubai. The games of poker are there in Las Vegas. The villas at wherever he stays there. Conor's coming into that world. But I promise you, he likes to spend his money. Both boys like to spend their money. For Conor Benn, I've never seen anyone want to win so bad. You know how hard this kid's trained? I've never seen anything like it. He has pushed himself to the absolute limits. That doesn't mean you're going to win. But what it does is it gives you every opportunity to win. And that's what I said to him. I spoke to him on Sunday night, and he's buzzing. I think he's a bit nervous. I think he's thinking, Jesus, this is upon us. And I said to him, mate, you can look yourself in the mirror and you can make that ring walk knowing you could not have done any more. Now you've got to go out there and you've got to execute the game plan. That's it. Enjoy yourself. But you've done the work, and I tell you, the other geezer ain't done the work. He never does the work. His dad never did the work. Yeah. Never. In his whole career. He never really did the work. He relied on true grit, toughness, and some ability and a great chin. As you get older, the true grit, the toughness starts to deceive you, and the chin also starts to deceive you. And that's where Chris Eubank Jr. is at. It's still a 50-50 fight. But I'm just going to keep talking myself into it being a 90-10 all week.
Okay, well, in terms